They branded Ethan Cross an F-rank failure in front of the entire school. Minutes later, that same outcast awakened power no commander had ever recorded. His girlfriend betrayed him, his rival laughed, and one damaged professor stood alone. Ethan chose her anyway, and that decision would eventually decide Earth's survival. But how could a broken living mecha carry infinite energy without tearing apart? And why did Ethan's system keep searching for partners ranked beyond SSS? This is today's complete story. Before we begin, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more complete manhwa recaps. Now, let's jump into the story. The awakening crystal flashed gray of rank. The weakest result possible. Ethan ignored their insults and turned toward the girl he trusted most. He expected Madison Reed to leave with him, exactly as they had planned. Instead, her expression hardened, revealing a decision already made behind his back. Madison asked what an F-rank failure could possibly offer her future. Then Madison ended their relationship in front of the entire graduating class. Worse, she admitted her cockpit was already reserved for Blake Harrington. "Only an S-rank commander can match me," she said, without looking back. Blake stepped beside her, enjoying every second of Ethan's humiliation. He mocked Ethan's talent and ordered him to accept his miserable destiny. When Ethan tried walking away, Blake grabbed him and blocked the path. The crowd expected another helpless retreat from their favorite target of ridicule. Ethan met her eyes. Never come back after today. He had endured mockery quietly because a secret remained buried inside his consciousness. Now, betrayal removed every reason to continue hiding what he truly possessed. Inside his mind, Ethan finally gave the command he had delayed for years. System Online Beginner Package unlocked. Golden pressure exploded through the hall and drove every laughing student backward. F-rank vanished from the display. In its place appeared S-rank. A second notification followed. Unique talent infinite charge. The Academy's detection equipment screamed beneath the pressure of an impossible talent phenomenon. Teachers stared speechlessly as radiant symbols covered the entire awakening hall. Blake's confident smile vanished, replaced by disbelief and poorly hidden fear. Madison accused Ethan of hiding his rank just to embarrass her. "No," Ethan replied, "I hid it to learn who you really were." If she had stayed loyal, his impossible future would have included her. Instead, she abandoned him before understanding the man standing directly before her. Madison had seen only a weak rank. Now, she saw the future. She threw away, but regret had arrived too late. Then the system marked a compatible signal inside the Academy. Target identified, Professor Evelyn Shaw, SSS Phantom Roadster Series. Compatibility, 99.9%. Binding condition, voluntary consent from the target. Blake scoffed, because everyone knew Evelyn's tragic and humiliating condition. Evelyn had awakened with S-rank potential, but an interrupted ceremony shattered her core. Energy escaped so rapidly that her practical strength had fallen near S-rank. No commander wanted a mecha who could transform for only several desperate minutes. Evelyn had become a professor, watching younger students pursue the dream she lost. Ethan walked directly toward her, shocking everyone who understood her damaged condition. Madison laughed loudest, calling Evelyn defective and completely useless for combat. Evelyn remained composed, though the insult reopened wounds she carried for years. Ethan stepped before her. "Professor Shaw, become my first partner." Professor Shaw searched his face, expecting arrogance, or another cruel joke. Instead, she found absolute certainty inside the eyes of a newly awakened commander. Evelyn warned him that her cracked core leaked nearly every unit of energy. Even an elite commander could keep her transformed for only 10 minutes. She feared becoming the burden that destroyed Ethan's extraordinary future. 10 minutes is enough to leave our name across the stars, Ethan answered. He explained how Madison betrayed him after mistaking weakness for his true worth. Because of that betrayal, he would never judge another partner by damaged appearances. Evelyn insisted they were mismatched because her body could no longer endure battle. He offered one simple choice: trust him once before burying her dream forever. His words reached the warrior buried beneath years of medical reports and disappointment. Evelyn extended her hand. "Fine, but don't regret choosing me." Silver light erupted as their contract locked into place. Their consciousness connected, allowing Ethan to feel every fracture within her core. Evelyn transformed into a sleek phantom roadster mecha before the stunned crowd. Her damaged reactor entered unstable burst mode, exactly as previous examinations predicted. Infinite charge flooded every fracture without losing a single percentage point. The sensation overwhelmed Evelyn, who had never experienced a true commander connection. She struggled to remain calm while his energy touched every dormant control pathway. Ethan also felt unfamiliar heat gathering around the control orb in his hand. System reward automatic module installation initiated. New modules installed themselves automatically throughout Evelyn's transformed body. Her ruined engine was replaced by a far stronger power system within seconds. A plasma cannon materialized, carrying destructive output beyond ordinary student equipment. Evelyn stared through shared vision, unable to understand how Ethan upgraded her. The supposed defective Mecha now radiated pressure that silenced every mocking voice nearby. Ethan faced the silent crowd. "Are we qualified for tomorrow's dungeon now?" Madison desperately claimed Evelyn would collapse after only several minutes anyway. Ethan smiled. "Professor, do you actually feel tired?" Evelyn checked her reactor and found it completely full. He invited her toward the combat test room, where numbers could silence every doubt. Behind them, Madison watched the pair leave, unaware her regret had only begun. Inside the combat simulator, Infinite Charge was about to reveal its real value. Evelyn transformed again, still nervous about the unfamiliar closeness of true piloting. Ethan told her to relax completely and trust his control without resistance. Then he activated the plasma cannon and aimed across the endless artificial wasteland. A beam tore through the horizon, turning distant dunes into a molten crater. The recoil should have emptied Evelyn's damaged core almost immediately. The cannon fired again, then again. Evelyn's energy never dropped. Ethan jokingly thanked the commander who once abandoned her after the failed awakening. Without that betrayal, Evelyn might never have waited long enough to meet him. His teasing embarrassed her, yet relief made the moment unexpectedly warm and intimate. 15 minutes passed at maximum output, yet every gauge remained full. Alliance Law registered permanent Commander Mecha bonds as federal combat partnerships. Infinite Charge did not repair her core. It made the damage irrelevant. For the first time and for years, Evelyn believed she could truly fight again. Ethan suspected Infinite Charge was only the beginning of his awakening path. The demonstration settled one question. Evelyn was no longer a defective machine. Tomorrow's dungeon would reveal whether Ironhaven was ready to believe it. By morning, every graduating student assembled before the secret realm entrance. Their academy principal explained that this assessment would decide war, college placement, and survival. The top objective was simple and brutal: kill the demonic world tree. First place earned 1 million energy credits and admission to any elite war academy. 4 legendary institutions watched the examination, searching for talents worth extraordinary investment. Madison mocked Evelyn for entering with a core that supposedly lasted minutes. Several classmates predicted Ethan would surrender almost immediately after transforming her. Evelyn heard them, but Ethan's steady presence kept old insecurity from returning. Before entering, another man stepped forward and confronted Evelyn with possessive anger. Victor Kane was her former commander, the man who abandoned her after core damage. He had returned only to demand she become his hidden mistress. Outside formal contracts, Evelyn rejected him coldly, reminding him that betrayal ended every possibility between them. Victor threatened Ethan, ordering him to dissolve their newly formed bond. Ethan called Victor a barking dog and walked straight into the portal. That casual dismissal wounded Victor's pride more deeply than any direct insult. He promised Ethan would never leave Ironhaven alive after the assessment. The portal swallowed Ethan and Evelyn before their enemies could continue threatening. Inside, poisonous fog covered twisted forests filled with demons and corrupted mechanical beasts. Most students moved cautiously, preserving energy for the required 8-hour survival period. Conserving energy was meaningless when Ethan's supply could never reach zero. Evelyn entered Phantom Roadster mode, and the pair accelerated directly through enemy territory. The plasma cannon erased entire monster groups before they could surround the rushing Mecha. Every kill transferred experience into Ethan, rapidly increasing his commander level. Evelyn expected ambushes, exhaustion, and long pauses between every major engagement. Ethan kept Phantom permanently overclocked and never released the trigger. The mirrored dungeon's difficulty collapsed beneath a strategy built on endless energy. They crossed areas meant to consume several hours in only a few moments. Miniature bosses emerged one after another, each dying beneath concentrated plasma explosions. The final region appeared far earlier than either participant believed possible. At its center stood the demonic giant tree, spreading roots across the landscape. Its branches filled the sky and released thousands of poisonous seed projectiles. Evelyn struggled to stabilize while the creature disrupted surrounding air currents. Ethan ordered her to circle continuously around the towering monster instead. Their movement gathered every plasma strike into one increasingly destructive attack path. The system tracked each rotation, predicting the exact moment accumulated damage became fatal. Ethan locked the score and unleashed the cannon at maximum overclocked output. A white beam drilled through bark, roots, core, and the mountain beneath. The world tree vanished before the dungeon timer reached 60 seconds. More than 10,000 monsters had already fallen during their impossible speedrun. Experience flooded Ethan until he reached Commander Level 10. Immediately. System, Commander Level 10 reached. New talent Overclock Armor. This ability could amplify Mecha modules far beyond their normal design limitations. Evelyn laughed in disbelief because their journey had barely begun before victory. They returned in under 1 minute, long before the audience expected survivors. Outside, Victor saw their early return and assumed Evelyn had collapsed. Madison joined him, loudly calling the damaged professor completely useless. Their laughter ended when the assessment monument began displaying Ethan's recorded achievements. The machine showed more than 10,000 kills, every miniature boss, and final victory. An 8-hour record had been crushed before the first minute ended. Teachers first believed the equipment had malfunctioned under an impossible data surge. The principal demanded an explanation from Ethan's homeroom professor immediately. That professor remembered only the F-rank result recorded during initial awakening. The principal asked how an F-rank student could produce achievements beyond calculation. Nobody could answer, while the monument continued confirming every astonishing result. Skyguard Academy promised 5 million energy credits and an S-rank weapon. Phoenix Vanguard Academy offered personal instruction from the Dean and complete combat modules. Titan Forge Academy promised full research access and customized tactical development. Aegis Defense Academy offered an SSS defensive module designed to preserve Ethan's life. The recruiters argued loudly, each determined to secure the impossible new talent. Victor interrupted, claiming Ethan had relied upon a one-use family treasure. Ethan pointed toward Victor. Let him test whether Evelyn is defective. If Ethan won, every academy reward would be doubled. Victor accepted eagerly, believing today would restore his pride and reputation. Yet he had no idea. Ethan had awakened overclock armor moments earlier. Victor summoned his S-rank Mecha with the confidence of an experienced senior. He mocked Evelyn's damaged core and promised to end everything within 10 minutes. 10 minutes? Ethan asked. You won't last 10 seconds. The countdown reached 0, and both machines exploded forward across the simulation arena. Victor's Mecha tried locking Ethan immediately with the high-speed targeting array. Evelyn accelerated beyond the tracking limit before the system completed its calculation. The audience saw only silver afterimages surrounding the slower senior Mecha. Ethan activated overclock armor, forcing every phantom module beyond factory restrictions. Energy surged endlessly through Evelyn while her speed climbed without visible limit. Victor ordered full defense after realizing ordinary evasion had become impossible. Ethan charged the plasma cannon while circling behind his frightened opponent. The system warned that the approaching output exceeded normal academy safety parameters. Victor's Mecha deployed every available shield, armor plate, and emergency barrier. Overclocked Armageddon, out cannon fire. Victor's machine collapsed, and the safety AI forcefully ended the match. Silence covered the platform until the academy representatives confirmed the result. Ethan had crushed an S-rank senior without suffering meaningful damage. Evelyn's supposed defective core remained completely full after maximum overclocked output. Ethan had conquered the exam. Now, 4 elite academies wanted to control his future. He already knew which offer mattered most. Her grandfather finally understood that Ethan truly neutralized the injury, limiting her. Victor lay trembling, unable to accept losing before everyone he once impressed. Ethan reminded the recruiters about the doubled rewards promised before battle. Ethan chose Phoenix Vanguard Academy before the recruiters finished arguing. The Phoenix Vanguard recruiter immediately presented Ethan's enrollment token and reward package. Classes would begin on the first day of the following month. Evelyn privately asked why he rejected Titan Forge's seemingly superior conditions. The academy protected something money could not buy. An unclaimed SSS legendary living mecha slept beneath its oldest facility. The legendary unit was Olivia Vale, built from several ancient inheritance templates. No commander had successfully awakened or bonded with her dormant core. Evelyn quietly wondered whether Ethan intended to replace her eventually. Her damaged condition still haunted every moment of newly recovered confidence. Their contract carried Evelyn's fear to Ethan before she could hide it. He explained that infinite charge might eventually support several bound Mecha partners. "You were my first partner," he said. "No one can replace you." Additional sisters would share combat pressure rather than steal her place beside him. That promise eased the tightness inside Evelyn's repaired, but still wounded heart. Their immediate goal became strengthening themselves during the remaining Academy holiday. The burst circuit entered Phantom's frame and doubled her plasma output. The remaining rewards included energy credits, defensive plugins, weapons, and Academy permissions. Evelyn remained shy about fully opening her cockpit to a true commander. Ethan promised gentleness, though their growing trust mattered more than awkward teasing. The next morning, they carried the unwanted combat module toward Ironhaven's trading hall. The auctioneer conveniently announced a newly listed top-grade silver combat plugin. Blake immediately offered 5 million energy credits to impress everyone around him. Ethan calmly withdrew, congratulating Blake for securing such a wonderful treasure. After the transaction cleared, the hall transferred payment directly into Ethan's account. Ethan thanked Blake for paying 10 million credits for his discarded module. Only then did Blake realize the entire auction had been a trap. Worse, the S-rank plugin could only perform at a rank through Madison. His expensive victory was therefore both financially foolish and practically inefficient. Rage distorted Blake's face while Ethan walked away with nearly 10 million energy credits. Evelyn struggled not to laugh until they finally left the crowded trading hall. News of his Academy victory spread before the maintenance procedure even finished. A striking young woman arrived wearing Phoenix Vanguard's elite combat insignia. Her name was Scarlet Hayes, candidate pilot of the SS Red Phoenix. Scarlet praised Ethan's control, then called Evelyn dead weight. She offered to contract with him and carry his talent toward the top of the Academy. Evelyn immediately rejected the insult, insisting she would continue becoming stronger. Ethan rejected her immediately. "Evelyn is my part, not damaged equipment waiting for replacement. Even if her frame breaks forever, I will never abandon her." Scarlet had expected ambition, greed, or excitement from an unknown freshman. Instead, Ethan's loyalty left her intrigued despite his direct rejection. He admitted they might cooperate someday, but never by pushing Evelyn aside. Scarlet left with one thought repeating in her mind: never abandon a partner. Neither Ethan nor Evelyn noticed several students recording the entire conversation. Those recordings soon reached Logan, one of Phoenix Vanguard's 10 strongest commanders. Logan considered Scarlet his future possession, despite lacking any actual contract. A jealous confrontation was already moving toward Ethan before classes even started. Logan Wolf found Ethan near the Central Plaza and demanded an apology. Logan demanded that the freshman kneel and apologize for coveting his woman. Ethan asked one question: had Scarlet ever agreed to belong to Logan? That calm question drew laughter from onlookers and deepened Logan's humiliation. One follower tried pushing Ethan aside, expecting the freshman to remain cautious. When a senior shoved him, Ethan dropped the man with one clean strike. Logan attacked in fury and immediately attempted a full Mecha transformation. Academy security interrupted, reminding both commanders that campus duels were strictly forbidden. Violators faced expulsion unless they fought inside an approved simulation combat facility. Logan turned his humiliation into a formal deathmatch challenge. A petty campus rivalry had just become a sanctioned deathmatch. This time, Ethan needed more than overwhelming firepower. System mission: defeat Logan Wolf and claim his top 10 seat. Reward: coordinates linked to an unbound legendary SSS living Mecha. The reward matched Ethan's greatest Academy objective, making refusal completely impossible. He accepted the deathmatch and walked toward the combat hall without hesitation. Spectators rushed ahead, eager to watch an unknown freshman challenge established power. The simulation arena switched from protection mode into officially recognized lethal conditions. The arena locked both commanders inside lethal combat mode. Ethan entered Evelyn's phantom form while every installed module activated simultaneously. System: Commander level 20, confirm. Ethan barely had time to process the revelation before Logan attacked. Behemoth launched a sky-swallowing cannon capable of flattening the entire arena center. Evelyn accelerated sideways, leaving the blast to carve through empty ground. Logan attempted repeated locks, but phantom speed overwhelmed his targeting system. Ethan stopped firing. Ranged weapons won't finish this. We go close. Atomic light blade activate. Ethan closed the distance instantly. Spectators gasped because phantom mechas were rarely used for direct melee combat. Evelyn followed every command, slashing Behemoth's armor with precise silver arcs. Logan absorbed the pain through synchronization and answered with brutal counter-strikes. The arena floor cracked beneath collisions strong enough to shake observation windows. Several top 10 members arrived after hearing that a freshman threatened their rankings. They evaluated Ethan's unconventional control and estimated his victory chances cautiously. One admitted the freshman's methods looked reckless, but remained frighteningly effective. Logan heard those judgments and unleashed Behemoth's strongest sky-swallowing cannon. Ethan met the attack directly by activating overclock armor at maximum output. The burst circuit multiplied Evelyn's power, while infinite charge erased every cost. He drew a newly equipped demon blade and cut through the incoming beam. The slash continued beyond the cannon, opening Behemoth's armored chest completely. Logan understood he had lost only when the blade reached his core. His final threat was a name: Marcus Wolf, leader of the top 10. Ethan finished the accepted deathmatch before fear could change its rules. Behemoth collapsed, and Logan's life ended inside the ruined cockpit. The audience remained frozen because a freshman had killed an elite commander immediately. Evelyn disengaged while the academy confirmed Ethan as the new ranked commander. Several top 10 members approached, but their posture carried caution instead of hostility. The new quarters included training chambers, workshops, and secure module storage facilities. Evelyn compared them with their previous dormitory and finally smiled without anxiety. She asked whether he regretted refusing Scarlet after seeing academy politics. An SS Red Phoenix contract could strengthen their position against Marcus. Ethan repeated that his true target remained a legendary SSS Mecha. Strong partners deserved respect, not desperate collection based only on rank. Evelyn went to freshen up while Ethan summoned the system privately. The system clue pointed toward Emerald Peak, deep inside Titan Rift. There, an unbound SSS fighter-type living mecha remained in artificial sleep. The 4 Academy tournament would enter that exact secret realm within 2 days. Ethan no longer needed any separate excuse to reach the target. His expression remained calm, but murderous pressure silenced everyone inside the council chamber. 2 days later, Titan Rift opened beneath the sky filled with warning sirens. Inside waited a second. SSS partner and Marcus Wolf's carefully prepared ambush. Treasures and inheritances existed everywhere, but greed killed more students than monsters. Survival remained the first rule, especially near forbidden zones and ancient facilities. Marcus watched Ethan from across the formation with controlled hatred. Scarlet noticed the stare and quietly warned Evelyn about his intentions. Ethan simply prepared the contract link and waited for the gate activation. Blue light expanded across the field as Titan Rift opened. Phantom launched as the tournament crowd watched from the academy platform. Marcus promised a special gift when they met again inside the ruins. Ethan answered with a smile before vanishing through the portal. Neither side knew the sleeping mecha beneath Emerald Peak could change everything. Random teleportation placed Ethan beside a crimson forest far from ordinary routes. Emerald Peak appeared beyond a distant ribbon of cyan light. Evelyn calculated the distance and recommended conserving power across dangerous terrain. Ethan ordered full flight instead because their energy supply had no practical limit. Moments later, invisible pressure crushed downward with 10 times ordinary gravitational force. Evelyn's consumption climbed sharply while every stabilizer struggled against the restriction. A no-fly field multiplied gravity and energy consumption across the entire region. Most mechas traveled across the ground because sustained flight invited catastrophic energy loss. Ethan asked whether her frame had suffered any structural damage. When Evelyn confirmed stability, he told her to continue flying at maximum speed. Infinite charge replaced every lost unit before the gauge could display it. Students below watched Phantom streak overhead and assumed Ethan had become suicidal. They predicted his damaged mecha would fall and shatter long before reaching Etherian. Marcus's scouts recognized the silver machine, but could not follow through suppression. Their messages claimed Ethan was wasting power while approaching Emerald Peak alone. Marcus laughed, believing the fool would die before revenge became necessary. Even an SS mecha should last only minutes beneath hundredfold pressure near the summit. Evelyn, however, felt no weakness despite continuous overclocked flight. Ethan crossed the forbidden airspace and reached Emerald Peak first. The system scanned ancient underground structures hidden beneath collapsed stone and vegetation. A matching signal appeared inside a sealed military base far below the surface. It identified serial number 10,000, Claire, the Skybreaker jet. Her dormant core carried genuine rank potential and no active resistance consciousness. The system offered forced binding because compatibility and unconscious consent protocols align. The signal led to a sealed military laboratory beneath the mountain. Before descending, Ethan stopped beside the ruins and looked across the dead city. Nothing moved beneath the dust, yet every tower suggested someone once believed it permanent. For once, he did not joke about treasure levels or hidden rewards. Evelyn understood the silence before he explained it. This place was not a prize chest. It was a warning left by a civilization that had already lost. The clone entered the underground base, while the original remained beside Evelyn above. Ancient doors opened reluctantly, as though the facility still feared another invasion. Inside waited one sealed pod surrounded by inactive fighter control stations. The name Claire Sterling appeared beneath layers of damaged military encryption. Her SSS Skybreaker frame remained intact, but her consciousness showed fragmented memory patterns. The system offered forced binding because her emergency protocol recognized Ethan as compatible. Ethan refused to confirm immediately. A sleeping partner was still a person, not equipment, waiting for an owner. He connected only enough energy to wake her safely. Claire opened her eyes inside a world that had been dead for centuries. She remembered alarms, evacuation orders, and pilots who never returned for her. Then she felt a stranger standing inside the edge of her consciousness. Her first question was not about the war. "Are you here to use me?" she asked. Ethan answered honestly. He needed her power, but the final choice belonged to her. He showed her Evelyn through the shared link, instead of making another promise. Claire felt the fractures in Evelyn's core and the limitless current holding them together. She also felt something rarer. Ethan never treated that damage as shame. "I have no home left," Claire whispered. "Then choose whether this team can become one," Evelyn replied. Claire accepted the contract under her own name, not her forgotten serial number. Silver-blue light crossed the laboratory as Skybreaker awakened from ancient sleep. Her first transformation lasted only seconds before damaged memory circuits forced disengagement. Ethan did not demand a test shot. He ordered the clone to carry her pod toward a secure extraction point. That simple restraint mattered more to Claire than the SSS contract itself. Through the link, she promised to fight after learning who she had become. Evelyn noticed Ethan watching the abandoned city again as the clone departed. She asked whether the ruins frightened him. "No," he said. "Repeating their mistakes does." The answer lingered between them longer than any victory speech. Only then did they return to the teleportation array leading toward Etherian. Neither spoke during the ascent. Claire's sleeping presence pulsed faintly through Shadowlink. They had invited a stranger into their lives, but earning her trust would take longer than one contract. Then the Rainbow Bridge broke through the clouds, and Etherian gave them no time to look backward. Other competitors finally reached the ancient district after exhausting journeys. Above them waited a city untouched since humanity's forgotten ancient war. At the gate, an experienced student named Derek Sloan explained the inheritance rules. The city remained safe only until 10 inheritors arrived. Once that number arrived, a half-hour countdown would seal the Rainbow Bridge. Then every candidate would enter a chaotic battle for one final inheritance. The last fighter standing would inherit every surviving ancient module. The 10th contender arrived. Etherian sealed every exit. 10 contenders had entered Etherian, the ancient city above the clouds. Only one of them could claim its inheritance and leave with everything intact. Half an hour remained before safety vanished, and every alliance became temporary. The Rainbow Bridge narrowed while Madison pushed her corrupted body beyond safe limits. She reached the final stretch as ancient barriers began sealing the passage. 1 second before entry, the bridge collapsed beneath her desperate hands. Madison screamed and tried flying upward without support from any commander. Her biological modifications provided strength, but instability dragged her toward the abyss below. Etherian rejected her qualification and locked the inheritance arena completely. Marcus's group spread out, surrounding Ethan from several directions. Their coordinated formation revealed that they had planned this ambush before entering. Ethan activated Evelyn's shields while tracking every hostile energy signature. A massive attack descended from above, leaving no visible escape route. He ordered Evelyn to meet it directly instead of wasting movement. Overclock armor covered Phantom in silver defensive plates within a heartbeat. Black Dragon energy formed another barrier as the enemy strike landed. The collision threw fragments across the arena, but Evelyn remained operational. Marcus revealed himself as the commander coordinating the attack on Ethan. He had entered the inheritance battle to avenge Logan's death. He wore a complete set of S-rank Phoenix recovery modules. Every injury could be restored repeatedly while Marcus still had reserve energy cores. Ethan answered that even recovery systems had unavoidable consumption limits. If necessary, Marcus would burn every energy core to deliver the final blow. Ethan responded by charging a weapon nobody inside Etherian recognized. Several inheritors abandoned the competition after witnessing such impossible student firepower. Others activated forbidden weapons, turning the inheritance battle into mutual destruction. Marcus ordered Blake to hide nearby and wait for an opening. He promised rewards if Blake delivered the final strike against Ethan. Through the Shadow Link, Claire received Ethan's helium flash module. The newly bound fighter Mecha remained hidden outside the central engagement. He instructed her emerging consciousness to wait until Marcus ignored distant locks. Claire accepted the command through their fresh but stable contract. Marcus assumed Ethan's strongest weapons required long charging periods. Confident in Phoenix recovery, he allowed minor incoming energy signatures to approach. Evelyn detected the hidden signal and warned that matter disintegration had begun. Helium flash crossed the city as pure matter disintegration. Marcus's repair modules could restore damage, but not matter erased completely. His Mecha armor vanished layer by layer before panic reached his voice. Blake emerged from concealment, hoping to strike Ethan during the distraction. Ethan had never forgotten the opportunist waiting behind Marcus. Ethan cut through Blake's replacement, Mecha, before the coward could escape. Blake begged for mercy and blamed Marcus for everything. Next life, don't live as someone else's dog, Ethan said. One final slash ended the man who bought loyalty and discarded partners. Marcus's recovery reserve collapsed while helium flash continued disintegrating his defenses. He tried surrendering, but structural failure interrupted the emergency command. The top 10 leader died without avenging the brother whose arrogance caused everything. Remaining inheritors surrendered rather than challenge Ethan's unmatched destructive network. Ancient mechanisms recognized him as the final standing candidate and opened the treasury. 3 legendary items emerged besides 7 SSS modules and 2 SS plugin sets. Evelyn could barely process the scale of rewards floating before them. Then the entire floating city began to fall. Ethan and Evelyn escaped as Etherian crashed into Titan Rift below. Teachers demanded an explanation while students described towers falling from the clouds. Senior officials turned pale because Etherian served more than educational purposes. A century earlier, demons invaded through a wormhole connected to that ancient structure. The floating city acted as a seal, hiding humanity's star sector coordinates. Destroying it could reveal Earth directly to the abyssal demon race. Experts insisted even an SSS Mecha should only damage the outer defenses. Sinking the entire city required legendary firepower paired with a legendary weapon. Several instructors remembered Ethan's earlier ability to amplify ordinary modules enormously. Suspicion began spreading, though nobody possessed direct evidence against him. Ethan remained silent, while Evelyn pretended equal confusion beside him. Ethan escaped the falling city, but the victory tasted dangerously incomplete. The real consequence was already appearing beyond Earth's orbit. Academy leaders locked down information and reported the crisis to military authorities. Deep beyond the broken seal, dormant demonic instruments suddenly awakened. A demon commander laughed as the forgotten passage reopened before his armies. He ordered his children forward to restore fear across the human worlds. At Earth's outer defense station, alarms detected an incoming abyssal signal. Mecha squads launched as lesser demons poured through the unstable rift. Defenders transformed into juggernaut units and opened concentrated cover fire. Thousands of enemies replaced every demon destroyed by the first volleys. Sustained combat pushed station mechas beyond safe wear limits within minutes. Skyguard reinforcements arrived carrying a temporal spatial anchor sealing device. However, technicians detected an abyssal altar feeding energy continuously into the passage. No external seal could hold while that altar remained functional inside enemy territory. Humanity needed an elite squad to cross the rift and destroy its source. Back at the defense station, technicians examined Evelyn before approving another deployment. Her energy remained full, but the outer frame carried stress fractures from Etherion's collapse. Infinite charge could replace power. It could not restore metal that no longer existed. Evelyn hid the warning report until Ethan felt her discomfort through their link. He asked why she had said nothing. "Because the war will not wait for me to feel ready," she answered. That sentence stayed with him when the military requested volunteers for the Abyss. The broken seal continued, pouring lesser demons toward Earth's outer defenses. Thousands died, and thousands more replaced them before the guns cooled. Engineers located an altar feeding the passage from inside enemy territory. No seal would hold until that structure was destroyed. An elite squad prepared to cross the rift with a single return beacon. Captain Mara Vance, a veteran White Knight commander, accepted field leadership. She warned Ethan that unlimited energy did not make him the most experienced soldier there. He accepted the correction without argument. Earth waited behind them. The Abyss waited ahead. The squad crossed beneath drone cover while black lightning crawled across every frame. Evelyn's shields drained continuously, and Ethan replaced the loss just as quickly. The stable gauge looked reassuring. The screaming metal beneath it did not. A guardian larger than a battleship rose before the altar complex. Its armor regenerated by drinking energy from the surrounding abyss. Ethan prepared his strongest cannon, but Captain Vance stopped him. One careless blast could collapse the only route home. She divided the squad into 3 groups and ordered precision attacks on the joints. For the first minute, discipline worked better than overwhelming force. Then the Guardian changed shape. One arm split into 6 blades and swept through the formation. 2 veteran mechas lost limbs before they could retreat. Evelyn accelerated into the strike and pulled them clear. The rescue saved both pilots, but a blade opened Phantom's left side. Energy flooded the wound immediately. The missing armor did not return. Ethan felt Evelyn's pain as a cold silence across their connection. She told him to keep fighting before concern disrupted his control. Captain Vance exposed the Guardian's chest while Ethan cut through its lower defenses. Instead of naming another technique, he compressed everything into one narrow burst. Light formed inside the open wound. The Guardian tried closing its armor. It was already too late. The internal explosion destroyed the regenerating core without collapsing the passage. Nobody celebrated. The wounded had to be dragged toward the altar before another Guardian appeared. Inside the chamber, an abyssal core fed endless power into Earth's invasion gate. Human legendary modules cracked its first shell, but failed against the center. Ethan enhanced the formation and ordered a second synchronized strike. The altar shattered. So did the floor beneath the squad. The return beacon fell toward a river of demonic energy. Captain Vance caught it with her damaged White Knight. The weight tore through both legs of her machine. She could either release the beacon or remain behind to hold it stable. Ethan turned back immediately. Vance ordered him not to waste the mission by pretending every choice had a painless answer. "You can supply energy, kid," she said. "You cannot create time." She locked her cockpit, anchored the beacon, and forced the others into extraction range. Evelyn reached for her through the link, even though they shared no contract. Captain Vance smiled once before the collapsing altar swallowed her signal. The squad returned without its leader. The rift closed. Earth's coordinates had already escaped through the final transmission. Ethan stood on the station floor while medics removed fragments from Evelyn's frame. His system displayed victory rewards. He closed every window without reading them. Unlimited power had not brought Captain Vance home. For the first time since awakening, a win felt exactly like defeat. 3 days later, long-range scanners found the demon fleet approaching the solar system. Central vessels were larger than cities, and darkened the stars behind them. Evelyn's left control pathway remained unstable after the Guardian strike. Doctors recommended complete suspension until reconstruction finished. She rejected the order. Ethan did not. He told her that loyalty also meant refusing to let a partner destroy herself. The argument ended only when Scarlet Hayes entered the medical bay. The SS Red Phoenix had once offered Ethan power while insulting Evelyn's damaged core. Now, she saw Evelyn unable to lift one arm without pain. Scarlet expected anger. Evelyn simply asked whether she had come to help or admire the damage. The question stripped away Scarlet's usual arrogance. "I came because Earth needs every fighter," she said. Then she looked directly at Ethan. "And because I was wrong about her." Scarlet did not ask to replace Evelyn this time. She offered to stand beside her. That difference earned the contract Ethan had previously refused. Crimson Fire connected Red Phoenix to the growing link. Ethan used one stored evolution chance and raised Scarlet from SS to S rank. The upgrade impressed her less than what followed. He assigned her first duty as Evelyn's shield during reconstruction. "You finally contract me, and I become a bodyguard?" Scarlet complained. "The most important one on Earth," Ethan answered. Scarlet tried hiding how much the trust affected her. The fleet arrived before Evelyn's repairs were complete. Human defenses launched across the orbital line while civilians evacuated underground. The first exchange turned space into burning metal and frozen plasma. Enemy numbers overwhelmed two defensive sectors almost immediately. Then Olivia Vale awakened beneath the central platform. She was one of Earth's last legendary living mechas. Every technician stepped back according to a protocol older than most nations. They did not prepare to welcome her. They prepared the storage cradle that would imprison her again after one shot. Her first cannon erased an entire wave of demon ships. Her second shot never came. Ancient reserves fell to 1%, and forced disengagement left her kneeling in human form. Return to vault restraints rose automatically around her wrists. Olivia tore one loose with the last strength in her human body. For centuries, commanders had treated her as a weapon, allowed one glorious shot. Then they placed her back into darkness until the next extinction alarm. She could no longer remember a sunrise without a target marker across it. Enemy fire shook the platform as Ethan approached. He did not ask how much destruction she could produce. He asked what she wanted. If humanity survived the night. The question silenced her more completely than depleted energy ever had. No commander had asked what happened to Olivia after the battle ended. She finally answered that she wanted to see one ordinary morning outside a vault. Evelyn's voice entered the open channel. "Then survive long enough to find one." Ethan offered his hand. "I can keep you awake." Olivia studied him through narrowed eyes. "For how long?" "As long as you choose to remain." The answer made her stop smiling. She accepted the contract not because he promised unlimited power. She accepted because the team asked her to imagine a life beyond being fired and forgotten. The first thing Olivia felt through Link was not strength, but Evelyn's pain and Scarlet's fear. For one heartbeat, she hesitated before allowing strangers into a mind guarded for centuries. Then another blast struck the platform, and Olivia opened the connection by her own choice. Ancient systems roared awake as endless current filled her legendary frame. The counterattack erased the vanguard and drew the attention of its ruler. Fallen, an abyssal king, crossed the battlefield alone. His first strike devoured half of Olivia's outer armor through her full shield. Her endless energy meant nothing against damage arriving faster than reconstruction. Ethan linked Phantom, Red Phoenix, and Olivia into an experimental formation. The combination gained impossible power, but responded like three bodies learning one heartbeat. Fallen noticed the hesitation immediately. He attacked the connection points instead of the armor. One blow severed Scarlet from the shared targeting network. Another reopened Evelyn's damaged left side before repairs had finished. Ethan flooded both cores with energy. Neither woman could move. That was the moment he finally understood the limitation. Energy could keep a broken body conscious while the enemy continued breaking it. Fallen laughed and moved toward Earth's civilian defense ring. Ethan ordered a retreat behind the moon's debris field. The command shocked every allied observer. He had never retreated before. Fallen crossed the abandoned sector and destroyed an entire unmanned defense wing. The explosion lit Earth's horizon like a second sunrise. Soldiers called the maneuver cowardice until they saw Ethan carrying Evelyn's disabled frame. Scarlet flew beside him with one wing burning, and no complaints left. Olivia covered the retreat alone, firing slowly to preserve her remaining armor. Behind the moon, Ethan disconnected the combination and rebuilt the plan from nothing. No new talent appeared. No convenient reward solved the damage. Claire finally awakened inside the secure carrier and requested combat access. Her memory remained fragmented, and one targeting circuit still returned ancient battlefield ghosts. Ethan told her she could remain protected. Claire refused. "You gave me a choice when I was helpless," she said. "This is mine." She connected Skybreaker's long-range cannon through the shadow link. Evelyn could no longer aim with her damaged left sensor, so she became Claire's spotter instead. Scarlet volunteered to draw Fallen back toward the debris field. Olivia would hold his attention long enough for one precise shot. Ethan's role was no longer to overpower the king. It was to trust each partner with a piece of the victory. Scarlet flew close enough for Fallen to believe she had lost control. He followed, eager to crush the weakest link in front of Ethan. At the last instant, she folded one burning wing and dropped beneath a strike. Olivia's cannon hit from the opposite side and exposed the black crystal in his chest. Evelyn counted the shifting core through Claire's shared vision. 1 degree left. 2 points down. Hold. Claire fired. The white line crossed the debris field without a battle cry or system announcement. Fallen's chest disappeared around the exposed core. His body tried rebuilding from surrounding darkness. Ethan sealed the scattered particles inside Olivia's collapsing field. Scarlet burned every fragment that escaped. Claire fired a second time and erased what remained. The Demon King died. The cost did not vanish with him. Claire's damaged targeting circuit burned out completely after the second shot. Scarlet lost one energy wing until full reconstruction. Evelyn's core fracture widened and forced immediate disengagement. Olivia's legendary frame drifted with 48% structural damage. Human soldiers cheered only after medical teams confirmed the partners were alive. Ethan did not join them. He watched Captain Vance's empty place in the returning formation. The system raised him to level 60 and unlocked Share and Link. Those talents could connect partners more deeply than any ordinary contract. But the lesson came first. No amount of power could make every loss reversible. From that day, Ethan stopped treating victory as proof that his decisions were correct. Fallen's death did not frighten the Abyss into silence. It convinced 3 stronger rulers that humanity required complete extermination. On Earth, military leaders argued over retreat, defense, and counterattack. General Jackson Ward wanted to strike before the demons reorganized. Others proposed evacuating elite commanders and abandoning worlds that could not be moved. Ethan listened until someone called sacrifice an acceptable statistic. Then he asked which families had volunteered to become that statistic. The chamber went quiet. He admitted Fallen had nearly defeated him. That honesty carried more weight than another promise of easy victory. 1 ruler could be killed with preparation. 3 arriving together could end humanity before any second attempt. Outside the chamber, Scarlet found Ethan staring at Captain Vance's recorded mission badge. She asked whether he regretted accepting the first Abyss operation. "I regret believing strength could protect everyone," he answered. Scarlet leaned against the wall beside him. "Then learn faster than the people trying to kill us." Before the council reached a decision, 3 ruler-level distortions opened near Earth. Negotiation became irrelevant. Every available fleet launched while the damaged partners prepared for battle. Evelyn could transform, but her left side remained slower than the right. Claire had no reliable long-range targeting system after burning out her ancient circuit. Scarlet's missing energy wing reduced her stability during high-speed turns. Olivia still carried deep structural fractures beneath the legendary armor. The enemy had chosen the exact moment humanity looked strongest and felt weakest. Ethan's mental capacity opened 2 additional contract spaces at level 61. He requested every unbound SS-rank or higher candidate aboard the flagship. Bianca Frost arrived first, quiet beneath the noise of emergency alarms. She was an SS Frost worm, repeatedly overlooked beside more glamorous SSS candidates. Her battlefield control could slow armies, but commanders considered control less impressive than destruction. Angela Hart entered behind her, wearing the confidence of an untouchable princess. The SSS Angel armament had rejected every previous commander before resonance completed. She claimed no one had ever been worthy. Through the link's edge, Ethan felt the truth she hid beneath that pride. Angela feared that another failed resonance would prove she was unusable. He chose Bianca first, not because her rank was lower, because freezing 3 battlefronts mattered more than adding another cannon. Bianca accepted with visible surprise. The contract opened her core, and Mecha enchantment pushed Frost Worm into a new form. Icy wings expanded as she evolved into the SSS Frost Heightened Dragon. Instead of celebrating, Bianca asked the question she had carried for years. "When someone stronger appears, do I return to the waiting room?" "You were selected for what only you can do," Ethan said. "That does not expire." Angela looked away before anyone noticed her reaction. Ethan then offered her the 6th contract without promising immediate enhancement. She hesitated. Her arrogance had always protected her from being rejected first. "What if the resonance fails again?" she asked quietly. "Then we survive the next minute and try again," Ethan replied. The contract succeeded before the flagship finished shaking from the next impact. Angela laughed once, half relief and half disbelief. She entered battle as SSS Angel armament without receiving any new rank. For the first time, Being accepted mattered more than being upgraded. 6 partners entered the link. Evelyn became the tactical center because her damaged frame could no longer lead every charge. Claire surrendered primary aiming control and trusted Evelyn's voice to guide each shot. Scarlet took responsibility for protecting the slower command core. Bianca controlled movement across the battlefield. Angela formed shields and precision blades where the network needed them most. Olivia carried the destructive weight no ordinary frame could survive. 3 Demon Kings struck 3 sectors simultaneously. Wrath hammered General Ward's fortress line while Greed hunted the evacuation corridor. Slaughter drove straight toward Ethan's linked formation. No single duel could decide the battle. Every mistake traveled through the same crowded sky. Slaughter covered space in abyssal fire and expected the humans to scatter. Bianca froze the leading wave before it reached the fleet. The effort cracked ice across her own core channels. She said nothing until Evelyn noticed the pain through Link. "You are allowed to report damage," Evelyn reminded her. "I thought useful partners stayed quiet," Bianca admitted. "Useful partners stay alive." The exchange lasted seconds, but Bianca never hit another warning. Angela cut open a path toward Slaughter's chest. Her first instinct was to continue alone and claim the kill. Then Greed tore through the evacuation corridor on another front. Ethan redirected half her shield system toward Commander Cole without explanation. Angela obeyed before Pride could object. That choice saved 3 civilian carriers, but exposed Evelyn's damaged side. Slaughter struck the opening immediately. Scarlet crossed the distance and took the blow across her remaining wing. The impact threw both women through the flagship's outer barrier. Scarlet's frame burned from shoulder to hip. She still asked Evelyn whether the damaged professor felt protected enough. Evelyn answered with a laugh that sounded dangerously close to tears. Olivia pinned Slaughter beneath continuous heavy fire. No one shouted weapon names. Only the result mattered. The ruler could not move without losing flesh. Across the evacuation corridor, Greed entered Commander Cole's mind. It showed him restored youth and every soldier he had failed to save. Cole rejected the visions, so Greed aimed directly at the civilian carriers. The veteran could retreat and live, or close the corridor with his own reactor. Ethan saw the choice forming through shared battlefield data. He ordered Cole to withdraw. Cole smiled at the young commander's impossible demand. "Captain Vance taught you badly. Sometimes time still costs someone." His Mecha wrapped both arms around Greed and locked the ruler in place. Ethan poured limitless energy into Cole's failing shield. The shield held. Cole's human body did not. Greed tried escaping as the reactor entered irreversible collapse. Claire could not see the target through her damaged sensors. Evelyn guided her by voice. 3 degrees right. Wait for Cole's signal. The veteran transmitted one final word. Now. Claire fired through the center of both silhouettes. The beam erased Greed's core. Commander Cole's signal vanished with it. Infinite charge continued pouring into an empty connection for 2 full seconds. Ethan stopped only when Evelyn covered his control interface with her hand. There was no energy value capable of restoring a life already gone. The battlefield gave them no time to grieve. Wrath had already broken Atlas Gate and was dragging General Ward toward Earth. Angela abandoned Slaughter's exposed flank and unfolded every shield around the wounded general. The impact cracked her halo ring and stripped the gold from both wings. She screamed, but remained between Wrath and the planet. That sacrifice created the opening Ethan needed, not another separate duel. He ordered all surviving fronts to collapse into one kill corridor. Slaughter followed the retreating formation. Certain grief had broken their coordination. Evelyn deliberately opened a narrow gap. The ruler took it. Scarlet sealed the exit behind him. Bianca froze the escape route while Angela drove a purified blade through the exposed core. Olivia ended the regeneration before it began. Slaughter fell without a single shouted technique name. Its death released enough pressure for the entire network to turn on Wrath. General Ward locked local space with the remains of Atlas Gate. Claire fired where Evelyn told her, not where her damaged sensors insisted. Bianca froze the wound. Scarlet burned the scattered particles, and Angela sealed the core. Olivia delivered the only final shot the formation needed. Wrath vanished before the 8-second lock expired. The battle ended with 3 Demon Kings dead. No one cheered immediately. Rescue crews searched the debris for Commander Cole and found only his mission tag. Bianca sat beside the hangar wall, staring at cracks across her new wings. Angela removed her broken halo and admitted she had been terrified the whole time. Claire asked Evelyn to continue serving as her eyes until repairs became possible. Scarlet refused treatment until Evelyn entered the medical chamber first. Olivia watched the younger partners argue and quietly called the team a family. Ethan stood outside the memorial room while the system displayed another victory. He remembered Captain Vance, then Commander Cole. The word victory no longer sounded uncomplicated. Military leaders still had to choose their next move. Waiting guaranteed another invasion after the Abyss rebuilt. Retreat abandoned every world that could not run. Counterattack offered no promise except choosing the battlefield themselves. Ethan supported carrying the war into the Abyss. This time, he did not claim everyone would return. He promised only that no sacrifice would be ignored or wasted. General Ward approved the assault from a medical bed. Human fleets began repairs beneath memorial lights instead of celebration fireworks. Earth had survived. The cost followed them into the next battle. Inside the Abyss, surviving rulers learned that wrath, greed, and slaughter had fallen. One envied Ethan's expanding talent, while another promised to crush his hope. A lazy demon suggested awakening something stronger than sending rulers individually. The council approved releasing the abyssal beast called Star Devourer. They also activated the heart of the abyssal tide across their territory. The human counterattack crossed into the abyss before its rulers finished reorganizing. Enemy commanders laughed when the wounded fleet entered territory no human had mapped. Then the darkness ahead opened like a mouth. The Star Devourer emerged from ancient restraints, larger than the fleet surrounding it. Its gravity pulled ships, debris, and weapon fire toward a collapsing horizon. General Ward deployed the repaired Atlas Gate around the central formation. The barrier held for 6 seconds. Cracks spread across it like lightning trapped inside glass. Ordinary legendary attacks vanished against the beast's skin without leaving marks. Ethan studied the creature instead of firing immediately. Power had won many battles. Observation would decide this one. The Star Devourer swallowed a cruiser before its crew reached escape range. Angela broke formation and expanded her damaged shields around the next 3 ships. One golden wing disintegrated under gravitational pressure. She held until every civilian engineer escaped. No audience saw the expression she wore inside the armor. That no longer mattered to her. Bianca froze surrounding space to slow the creature's jaws. Cold raced backward through her evolved core and locked one arm in place. She warned the network immediate, remembering Evelyn's lesson. Claire could not trust her damaged targeting display. So Evelyn described the beast through shared sight. Heartbeat by heartbeat. Olivia fired one legendary cannon bank and forced the creature to turn. The barrel melted afterward, leaving her with one side permanently silent. Scarlet carried injured mechas away from the gravitational center instead of chasing glory. Each partner gave up something the next attack might need. That was why the formation survived long enough to learn. The Star Devourer's skull regenerated after every visible wound, but its divine core shifted whenever it prepared to swallow energy. Evelyn detected the pattern first. 3 seconds before each devouring wave, the core moved behind the left eye. Ethan formed a 6-partner firing network around that narrow window. He mentioned the ancient disintegration weapon once. After that, it was simply the beam they could not afford to miss. The first shot struck too early and vanished against the outer skull. Gravity slammed the formation backward and crushed to support cruisers. The second shot reached the eye but failed to catch the moving core. Half the beast's face disappeared. Black flesh began rebuilding before the light faded. The failed attack left Claire trembling inside the link. Her old targeting ghosts showed cities that no longer existed. I cannot tell which battlefield is real, she admitted. Evelyn closed her own damaged left sensor. Then listen to me, not the screen. Claire released every automated prediction and followed Evelyn's breathing instead. Bianca tightened the frozen field while cracks spread across both wings. She asked Ethan not to leave her behind if the transformation failed. He reminded her that she had been chosen for more than this single battle. Scarlet wrapped one remaining wing around Bianca's exposed core. He means it, she said. Annoyingly, he always does. Angela placed her last intact shield ahead of Claire's cannon. Olivia redirected armor from her silent side to protect the weapon path. Every partner reduced her own survival margin to create one clean second. The Star Devourer opened its jaws. The core shifted. Evelyn counted quietly. Not yet. Wait. Now. Claire fired without looking at the ruined display. The white line entered the damaged eye and crossed the moving core exactly once. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then gravity released every trapped ship at the same time. The Star Devourer froze around the fleet like a dead moon. Its enormous body collapsed into drifting abyssal ash. No triumphant music existed in space. Only crews gasping as gravity returned to normal. The system awarded enough experience to raise Ethan to Commander Level 90. Creation engine awakened, allowing contracted mechas to become adaptive armor around him. The description promised instant activation and complete preservation of every partner's mind. Ethan barely finished reading before abyssal blood began moving beneath the battlefield. The fallen beast had not been only a weapon, it had been a sacrifice. Black rivers flowed toward the heart of the abyssal tide. 3 ancient ruler souls answered from hidden chambers. Human fleets opened fire upon the forming ritual. Every missile disappeared inside the vortex without slowing it. Angela tried raising another shield and discovered both wings would no longer respond. Bianca could not move her frozen arm. Claire's cannon required external guidance for every shot. Olivia had lost half her main weapons. Evelyn's old fracture had spread into the central control ring. Scarlet remained the only partner with full movement, and even she carried burned armor. The victory over the beast had emptied their bodies without touching Ethan's energy supply. That distinction suddenly mattered more than ever. Stars dimmed as the ritual condensed death into a human-shaped silhouette. Olivia recognized the pressure before the scanners finished failing. This was not another king. It was the source from which kings borrowed power. The Trinity Demon God opened its eyes after 100,000 years. It thanked humanity for bringing enough death to complete its return. General Ward ordered every damaged fleet to withdraw toward the human defense line. Several commanders refused to abandon Ethan. He asked whether they planned to help by dying inside the first shockwave. The brutal question finally moved them. Atlas Gate remained behind as the evacuation corridor while the fleets retreated. Ethan watched the wounded partners gathering around him through Link. Power alone had reached its limit. The final battle would depend upon whether 7 damaged people could still trust one another. Ethan began with the obvious answer. Combine every available frame into one divine machine. Phantom shaped the movement system. Olivia formed the armored core. Scarlet became burning wings. Angela, the primary blade. And Bianca, the frozen left arm. Claire mounted her ancient cannon across the back. Guided by Evelyn's tactical control, 6 partners and 1 commander became a single towering silhouette. The demon god looked almost amused. The first collision erased mountains beneath them. Ethan blocked one fist, but the impact threw the fused frame across the abyss. Olivia's central armor split before the machine completed its recovery. Scarlet forced one damaged wing open and stabilized the fall. Angela cut a glowing wound across the god's chest. Black blood reversed direction and returned into the body. The wound vanished. The god struck again before the massive formation could turn. Bianca's frozen arm shattered from wrist to elbow. Shared pain crossed all 7 minds at once. Evelyn tried correcting the movement delay. Her damaged control ring failed halfway through the command. For one terrible second, the divine machine stopped responding. The demon god drove a hand through its shoulder and tore Angela's weapon free. Human observers saw humanity's strongest frame falling apart in real time. Unlimited energy filled every reactor. Nothing could make the giant body move faster than its damaged structure allowed. Olivia said what everyone already understood. We have enough power. We do not have enough body. The god raised both hands to crush the immobilized formation. Ethan activated creation engine. The fused Mecha did not repair itself. It disassembled. Armor, wings, blades, frozen crystal, and silver control circuits broke into thousands of fragments. The demon god's strike passed through the collapsing shell. Those fragments turned and wrapped around Ethan's human body. Legendary armor compressed over his chest and spine. Phantom became movement beneath his feet. Scarlet's fire formed one damaged wing behind his right shoulder. Bianca's frost covered his left arm despite the missing hand segment. Angela's remaining halo became a narrow blade of light. Claire's cannon folded along his back, still waiting for Evelyn's voice. Olivia reinforced every point expected to receive a killing blow. 7 minds now occupied one compact exoskeleton. The god attacked again. Ethan vanished. Not because the enemy was slow, because every skill now answered thought. Instead of mechanical movement, he appeared above the god and opened its skull with one clean strike. Before regeneration finished, Frost locked the wound and scarlet fire burned the edges. Claire fired where Evelyn counted, piercing the exposed center. The demon god staggered for the first time. Then it smiled. A black wave erupted from its body and filled the entire sector. Ethan formed protection only where the wave touched him. The adaptive armor survived. The retreating human fleet did not share that protection. The god redirected the next attack toward Earth. Ethan crossed the distance and caught it against Olivia's reinforced chest plate. The armor held for half a second. Then the plate cracked down the middle. Olivia felt her legendary core beginning to burn. She offered to consume it completely for one decisive counterattack. Ethan refused. No partner chooses death alone inside my link. Olivia laughed weakly. Then make the group decision quickly. The god summoned millions of abyssal creatures to bury him beneath numbers. Shadow clones entered the horde, each carrying a reduced version of the armor. Silver afterimages cut corridors through the black swarm. Yet the action no longer felt triumphant. Every clone destroyed returned pain and fragmented memory through the network. Bianca's breathing became irregular as cold consumed her damaged arm. Angela's halo flickered each time she forced another shield into existence. Claire missed a shot and nearly struck a human cruiser. She froze. "I cannot trust my sight," she whispered. "Then trust my voice," Evelyn answered again. Claire closed every visual channel except the shared path between them. Her next shot crossed 3 battlefields and saved the cruiser. Scarlet noticed Evelyn's control signal weakening. The old core fracture had reached the center. Without warning, she wrapped her remaining wing around Evelyn's consciousness inside the link. "You protected me when I was too proud to ask," Scarlet said. "Let me return at once." Evelyn tried objecting. Scarlet told her damaged professors were allowed to lose arguments occasionally. The small joke kept Evelyn awake through the next shockwave. Bianca finally admitted she could no longer feel her left arm. She expected Ethan to remove her from the formation. Instead, Angela transferred one control channel into Bianca's damaged side. "I spent years trying to be the best weapon," Angela said. "Turns out being useful is harder." Bianca laughed despite the pain and resumed freezing the god's movements. The demon god tore through another clone and reached Ethan at 0 distance. Its fist shattered the armor around his left shoulder. Human bone broke beneath the compact frame. For the first time, Ethan's command hand stopped responding. The god seized him and squeezed until the link filled with warning signals. Evelyn ordered every partner to stop attacking. Power collected inward instead. Scarlet burned the gripping fingers. Bianca froze the joints. Angela cut the smallest opening. Olivia expanded that fracture from inside the armor. Claire waited for Evelyn's single word. "Fire!" The cannon fired through Ethan's own broken shoulder gap. The demon god's hand disappeared. Ethan escaped, but his left arm hung useless beside him. No system reward repaired it. No hidden ability erased the pain. He continued because Earth remained visible behind the retreating fleet. The battle dragged across dead worlds and ruined demon fortresses. Every exchange killed more abyssal troops gathering around their god. Eventually, the system announced Commander Level 100. Ethan almost ignored it. Then one phrase stopped him. Unique talent awakened time rewind. The ability could restore a chosen state recorded through a temporal anchor. It was not healing. It was reality remembering what existed before destruction. Ethan quietly anchored all 7 linked consciousnesses at that exact moment. He told none of the partners what he had done. The demon god sensed a new disturbance, but misunderstood its purpose. It expanded demonic energy across the entire star sector. Ethan destroyed its body again with the ancient white cannon. Black particles gathered from every direction and rebuilt the god within seconds. Another strike removed its head. The abyss grew a new one. Another erased the chest. Darkness replaced it. The truth became unavoidable. As long as one trace of abyssal energy survived, the demon god could return. Infinite charge solved exhaustion. It did not solve immortality. The god stopped trying to kill Ethan directly. Instead, it formed an attack aimed beyond him, at the human defense line. Ethan sealed the blast inside folded space. The pressure shattered 3 more layers of Olivia's armor. Evelyn asked the question nobody wanted to answer. How long can we protect every world from something that never stays dead? Silence spread through the link. Then Olivia remembered an ancient relic sealed by humanity after the last divine war. Nova Guardian could compress a linked formation's complete output 100 times. It had never survived a full power test. Neither had anyone standing beside it. Ethan contacted General Ward and requested the relic. Ward refused immediately. He understood that the weapon's containment zone erased the user with the target. "Keeping me alive means nothing if Earth disappears," Ethan said. General Ward stared at the damaged young commander on the screen. Then he ordered the launch. Nova Guardian arrived inside an unmanned capsule shaped like a black metal heart. The demon god recognized it. Fear replaced amusement for the first time. The relic had killed gods before. It had also killed everyone who activated it. Creation Engine opened the exoskeleton and connected Nova Guardian to all 6 Mecha cores. The chamber required perfect synchronization from 7 minds. They had that. What they did not have was proof time rewind could restore complete erasure. Evelyn felt the temporal anchor hidden beneath their connection. "You were planning something reckless," she said. Ethan admitted the talent was new and untested. Scarlet laughed once, without humor. "Of course, our first test destroys a god." Bianca asked whether the anchor truly included everyone. Ethan confirmed it had captured every partner before the final compression began. Angela looked at her broken halo. "Then stop explaining and give me something useful to hold." Olivia transferred the last intact legendary plates around the relic. Scarlet prepared rebirth flames as a second chance nobody trusted. Bianca froze surrounding space to slow any escape. Angela formed purification seals across the containment boundary. Claire aligned the cannon by listening only to Evelyn. Compression began. 1 times. Peak became 10. At 20, the surrounding abyss started collapsing toward the relic. At 40, Olivia's remaining plates cracked. At 50, Angela's halo shattered completely. At 60, Bianca lost all sensation below her shoulder. At 70, Scarlet's last wing dissolved into flame. At 80, Claire's cannon began melting along the spine. At 90, Ellen's damaged control ring split open. The problem was no longer energy. Ethan continued, supplying more than the relic could safely contain. The problem was keeping 7 damaged minds connected long enough to release it. The demon god attacked the spatial boundary repeatedly. Shadow clones intercepted the first blows and vanished. Each sacrifice returned fragments of pain into Ethan's consciousness. The god offered him eternal rule if he abandoned Earth. "Power purchased through surrender never interested me," Ethan answered. It promised to spare his partners. Instead, Evelyn rejected the offer before he could speak. She remembered years spent as equipment nobody wanted. She would not survive by becoming someone who abandoned others. Scarlet agreed. Bianca said a commander should not carry the final burden alone. Angela placed her last defensive seal around Ethan's broken human arm. Claire kept the cannon aligned while molten metal crossed her back. Olivia held the rear chamber together with the remains of her legendary core. At 95 times output, the sealed battlefield became a white sphere. Human sensors lost images and received only broken voices. General Ward ordered every fleet farther away. Several commanders refused until Ethan transmitted one final command. "Protecting humanity matters more than watching me die." The fleet withdrew. Inside the sphere, the demon god released countless attacks from its expanding body. Creation Engine shifted armor between heat, impact, corruption, and spatial collapse. Repairs fell behind. Damage. Ethan's right knee failed. Then his vision disappeared from one eye. The link began dropping voices. Claire went silent. First, Evelyn called her name repeatedly. A faint answer returned. "Still here. Just listening." Bianca's signal faded next beneath the cold consuming her core. Angela transferred warmth through the shared network and pulled her back. Scarlet stopped joking. Olivia began counting structural fractures because someone had to remain practical. The relic reached 98 times output. Space outside the seal folded inward. The demon god gathered every remaining trace of abyssal energy into one final strike. If it landed early, both powers would explode without erasing the regeneration network. Evelyn calculated 3 more seconds. Ethan ordered every partner to defend the relic, not him. They ignored the second half. Olivia placed legendary armor over his chest. Bianca froze the leading edge of the attack. Scarlet burned away its corruption. Angela split the center with one final blade. Claire fired through the opening on Evelyn's count. The weakened strike still shattered half of Ethan's armor. His ribs broke beneath the impact. Blood filled his mouth. The temporal anchor flickered. For one instant, Ethan could no longer feel Scarlet. Then her voice returned as a whisper. "I said I would stay beside you." 99 times. The demon god tried scattering its soul beyond the containment boundary. Angela's purification seals trapped the fragments. Bianca froze their movement. Claire held the targeting point without functioning vision. Olivia closed the rear chamber with her final plate. Scarlet spread flames across every route of escape. Evelyn became the center holding all 7 minds together. 100 times peak output. The weapon was ready. Before release, the link became strangely calm. Evelyn remembered the classroom where Ethan chose her damaged core. She had once feared she could fight for only 10 minutes. Now, she stood at the center of a weapon aimed at godhood. "You returned every dream I buried," she told him. "You trusted me before anyone understood why," Ethan answered. Scarlet complained that the conversation sounded too much like a farewell. Bianca requested a future mission involving less universal destruction. Angela reminded Ethan that she still expected the next enhancement. Claire said only that the target remained aligned. Olivia laughed softly. For once, being fired and forgotten does not sound possible. Their voices did not remove fear. They made the choice belong to everyone. The demon god expanded around the sealed region and tried swallowing it whole. Ethan focused on the temporal anchor. He could not activate time rewind before the enemy was completely erased. Doing so would restore the immortal god with them. Evelyn confirmed every hostile particle remained inside the strike zone. Ethan authorized Final Flash. Nova Guardian opened. 7 linked outputs collapsed into one impossible line of white. The light erased matter, soul, demonic energy, and the network that allowed resurrection. The demon god's scream ended before sound could cross the seal. White consumed the battlefield. Human sensors went dark. Ethan felt the partners fading one by one. Evelyn whispered that she would choose him again. Scarlet promised to annoy him in another life. Bianca asked not to be forgotten. Angela demanded that reincarnation preserve seniority. Claire sent one final targeting confirmation. Olivia thanked him for allowing her to live longer than one cannon shot. The temporal anchor disappeared beneath the approaching erasure. For one terrible instant, Ethan believed the new talent had failed. Then his own consciousness vanished. Silence replaced the battlefield. No system message followed. No signal reached the human fleet. General Ward waited while every clock continued moving. 5 seconds passed, then 10. A faint pulse appeared outside ordinary space. The temporal anchor had not been destroyed. It had moved beyond the region. Final Flash erased. Time Rewind answered. Reality searched backward through every consciousness recorded inside the link. It found Evelyn before the compression began. Then Scarlet, Olivia, Bianca, Angela, and Claire. It found Ethan at the center, broken but alive. Inside the chosen moment, one by one, those recorded states returned to the present. Scarlet fire appeared first inside the empty white aftermath. Frozen light followed. Then holy energy, Andari armor, Skybreaker, silver, and phantom control lines. Ethan's body reconstructed inside the adaptive shell. Air entered his lungs. Sound returned. Evelyn opened her eyes and asked whether this was another life. Scarlet examined her restored wings before punching Ethan's shoulder. Bianca moved both arms, then laughed when the cold no longer hurt. Angela touched her complete halo and immediately asked about enhancement priority. Claire opened clear targeting displays for the first time since awakening. Olivia scanned the void and found no remaining demon god signature. The enemy had not been inside the link. Time Rewind restored the team without restoring what they erased. Ethan finally explained the temporal anchor. Evelyn scolded him for hiding an ability capable of deciding their lives. He admitted he had feared giving them hope based on an untested talent. Olivia called the experiment irresponsible, even by legendary standards. Scarlet hugged him before finishing her complaint. Recovery ships found all 6 partners alive beside their commander. General Ward called Ethan a hero monster and a reckless child. Ethan accepted every description. Medical teams confirmed that the restored states removed the battle's final injuries. They could not restore Captain Vance or Commander Cole. Time Rewind had been awakened after those deaths. That truth prevented the victory from becoming a convenient erasure of every cost. Earth survived. The Abyssal Command Network collapsed with its god. Soldiers returned, carrying grief beside relief. Evelyn no longer introduced herself as a damaged professor. She had become the tactical heart of humanity's strongest formation. Scarlet learned that loyalty mattered more than replacing someone weaker. Bianca learned that reporting fear did not make her disposable. Angela stopped measuring worth only through rank. Claire recovered a future without needing to recover every lost memory. Olivia remained awake after the war instead of returning to storage. Ethan stood with them above Earth as the first reconstruction fleets departed. He had begun as an F-rank joke in a crowded classroom. Power changed what he could fight. Loss changed how he chose to fight. Infinite charge supplied endless energy. Trust decided where that energy belonged. Their journey did not end without sacrifice. It ended with every surviving partner choosing to remain.